welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy and welcome to my little bookish cozy corner of the internet. So in today's video we're going to go through all of the books on my physical TBR. Now it's quite hefty. I know that there are a lot of people that have much more on their physical TBR, but I have a tiny little bookshelf and there's only so much I can fit on it. So these are all the books that are from my bookshelf. So there's 3 piles, and then this is books I've lent from the library. I do have 2 books that I'm currently waiting to come in from the library, so I will be including those in my list because they will be part of my physical TBR once they go into the library and I can go and collect them. But yeah, shall we jump right into what's on my TBR for 2024? So I'll go through library books first. Now this first one I'm actually reading currently, and it's taken me a while to read it because it is non-fiction and it's very dark and very heavy. It's something that interests me a lot, but it is, because it is non-fiction, I do find non-fiction to be a bit more difficult to read, but I'm enjoying this. So it is The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule, and this is about the Ted Bundy cases, and it's a lot at the minute. It's just the way it's written, it is a bit hard to read personally for me because I'm more into reading fiction novels, but I am still enjoying this quite a lot. So Anne Rule actually knew Ted Bundy. They used to work together at a crisis clinic when people would want to unalive themselves or be in times of mental crisis, and Ted and Anne would actually help to save these people's lives, which is very ironic considering what Ted Bundy was doing. But it is very interesting reading about someone else's point of view on a person like this and how she did not expect him to be that kind of person or a criminal at all. So it is very interesting to see from another person's point of view what someone like this was actually like. And I'm hopefully going to try and read a bit more of this. I'm only about 60 pages in and it is about a 500-page book, so I better get a move on. Next is The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. I have seen this on a lot of people's TBRs and a lot of people's yearly wrap-ups in 2023, and this does seem to give like the Hunger Games vibes where you're fighting for survival, but Winnie, the main character, is fighting for the name of her family and restoring her father's name. And it does look very good. I absolutely adore the cover, and eventually I do want to read the sequel if I do enjoy this, and the sequel is Hunter's Moon. So we'll see if I like The Luminaries. I hope I do because the cover is gorgeous and I really hope I like it. So this next book I have actually seen again all over BookTube, all over Bookstagram, and it looks like this is a book I can imagine reading in the summer, but I am obviously going to read it soon because I'm lending this one from the library. But this is by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I adored Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. That was in my 2023 wrap up. It was one of my favourite books of the year. Well, it didn't quite make the top 10, but it was a very good book. And this one is Daisy Jones and the Six, and this seems to be about a band that seemingly broke up, and the book kind of delves into the reasons why the band split up. If I'm looking over this way, it's because my little boy is currently asleep upstairs and I've got the monitor right there, so I'm watching him like a hawk. But yeah, this looks like a very interesting book to read. It looks really fun, and I don't know what it is, but it kind of gives me Fleetwood Mac vibes. I don't know what it is, like Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac type vibes. So I am quite looking forward to reading this, and I do hope that I like it. I do want to read more of Taylor Jenkins Reid's work, so hopefully this will get me onto more of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. This one is another one that I've seen all over social media, and this comes in a different cover in America, I believe. But this cover is still just as beautiful, and there seems to be elements of maybe time travel or living through lots of different lives, and it is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This does look really, really good, and look at the cover. It's got so many like beautiful little flowers on it, and it just looks really, really nice. And I'm the type of person that if the cover looks nice, then I instantly want to read the book. But there does seem to be elements of like living through multiple lives and time travel and people crossing paths, which isn't a trope that I'm really used to. I'm not really into like romances and things like that, but I am willing to give this a try, so let's wait and see. So this is another non-fiction book, and I can't remember where I saw this, but I saw it somewhere and I thought I actually really want to read that. It does look quite interesting. And it is Past Mortems, Life and Death Behind Mortuary Doors by Carla Valentine. So this explores obviously what goes on behind mortuary doors and what happens after death. And death, I'm not going to lie, is something that terrifies me. I am terrified of death. Not personally, it's the thought of one, losing people, because everyone dies one day, and just the unknown. That is what terrifies me. And I think if I read this book, it might give me a new outlook on death, and yeah, I'm willing to explore it because it does look very interesting. So we'll see if this has some kind of effect on me, because it does look very, very interesting. And even though I am terrified of things like this, it does fascinate me. So we'll see how reading this goes. So next is kind of like a witchy story. Now, witchcraft and witches was a very common theme in 2023, but I do want to read some more books like it, and this one is Cunning Women by Elizabeth Lee. And this is based in Lancashire, which is not too far from where I grew up. I grew up in Cumbria, so not too far at all. And this is basically about the Pendle witch trials and how women who didn't conform were basically just tried as witches anyways, because they went against the grain of society. And it does look quite interesting, and I love this cover with like the foiled animals, and I don't know, there's something very like 90s about this book cover. I don't know what it is, but I do really like it. And then the back got this border of leaves and foliage, and it's so beautiful. And because it's a hardback, you can see the beautiful shade of green. Underneath you can't really see because of the angle of the camera, but I am really excited to read this, and hopefully I can find some more witchy reads in 2024. So the next book also ties into my roots, and it is Wayward by Amelia Hart. So we follow the lives of 3 different women from different time periods, and this is basically, I'll read the little thing at the bottom. So these are all 3 of the women that we're following. And then it says, weaving together the stories of 3 women across 5 centuries, Wayward is an enthralling novel of female resilience and the transformative power of the natural world. And Kate, who is the most modern timeline, says Kate flees London, abandoning everything for Cumbria and Wayward Cottage. So I think this one will hopefully be quite close to my heart, because Cumbria is where I was born and bred. So I am quite excited to read this one. And just look at that cover. I thought they were butterflies at first when I first picked up the book, but they're actually like tulips, and then you've got a little moth here. It just is a really, really pretty cover, and I was instantly drawn to it when I first saw it, so I'm excited to read this one. And lastly is The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. Now this has been on my TBR since last year, but I just haven't had the time to read it or found the chance to read it, because I didn't really want to buy it and then not like it. So after I've read The Stranger Beside Me, this is probably going to be next, because I'm going to get through all the library books first before I go on to the TBR I actually own, because they're not going to go anywhere. These library books have to be returned at some point. So all of the reviews I've read describe this as a gothic novel, and I love the fact that the foliage makes a skull. I think that's super, super cool. There seems to be a lot of mystery in this book and a lot of different people hiding secrets. And obviously there seems to be historical elements in it as well. So the main character, Anne, it looks like she goes to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and she's assigned to the Cloisters, the Met Gothics Museum and Garden, renowned for its medieval and Renaissance collections. And she ends up finding a mysterious, once believed, lost deck of 15th century Italian tarot cards and finds herself at the centre of a dangerous game of toxic friendship and unbridled ambition. We'll have to see how this is, but I love the cover. Again, like Wayward, it's got butterflies on it. I don't know what it is with Gothic novels and butterflies, but it seems to be quite a common theme that I've found. But it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a stunning looking book, and I hope that the writing is just as good as well. So let's move on to this humongous pile. I'm gonna have to do one pile at a time. So I'm gonna bring one pile down and then just show them one by one. But I'm gonna have a humongous pile of books next to me by the end of this video, but that's okay. Let's do this pile first, shall we? So first on my TBR that I actually own is Lightlark by Alex Astor, and this seems to kind of give Hunger Games vibes, and I don't mind that. It seems to be quite a common theme in like 2023. A lot of books have been released with Hunger Games vibes, and yeah, it's just, but I mean, look at the inside, it's got like thorns on the top, and that it's so cool. And then there is Nightbane, which is the next book in the series, but I want to see if I like this one first before I pick up Nightbane, because I don't want to hate this and then pick up the second book and feel like I have to read it. So I will read the synopsis for you. Every 100 years, the island of Lightlark appears for only 100 days to host a deadly game, where the rulers of 6 realms fight to break their curses and win unparalleled power. Each ruler has something to hide. Each curse is uniquely wicked. To break them and save themselves and their realms, one ruler must die. To survive, either crown must lie, cheat, betray, even as love complicates everything. So there's betrayal, there's a love story, Hunger Games type vibes. I really hope I like this, because I mean, just look at that cover. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I really, really hope that I like it. I've heard mixed things about Nightbane, Wolfsbane. I've heard mixed things about Nightbane, so I really hope I like this, because I have been excited to read it for quite a while. Sticking with the Hunger Games type vibes, I have seen this everywhere on people's wrap-up videos, especially in 2023, and I picked this up, and I picked this one up and Lightlark at the same time because I love the look of them both. And it is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I mean, the cover is just stunning in itself, and there is 4 books, well technically 3 books in the series. So there's The Inheritance Games, The Hawthorne Legacy, The Final Gambit, and then there is another book which is kind of like an add-on, which is The Brothers Hawthorne. So I am quite excited to read this. $1 billion fortune. Avery has a plan. Keep her head down. Work hard for a better future. Then an eccentric billionaire dies, leaving her almost his entire fortune, and no one, least of all Avery, knows why. Now she must move into the mansion she's inherited. It's filled with secrets and codes and the old man's surviving relatives, a family hell-bent on discovering why Avery got their money. Soon she is caught in a deadly game that everyone in this strange family is playing, but just how far will they go to keep their fortune? That sounds really, really cool. I love the aspect of like jealousy and just I'm really excited to read this, and I really hope it's worth the hype, because I have seen this everywhere. So I really, really hope that I like it. This one I was supposed to read last year, but then I realised that there's no chapters in it. It's just one continuous book. And I think if I had the time, I would probably read it in a couple of days, but it's just the fact that there's no chapters in it kind of puts me off. I feel like I have to finish it in one sitting. And it is Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. And I know that this is what the movie Interview with a Vampire is based off, and there is a lot of books. This is the first book in the Vampire Chronicles series, and I think there's like 9 books, but I just can't bring myself to read 9 books. I really wanted to read the first 3, but if I read 3 then I feel like I'd have to read them all. So if I really like this, then I'll continue the series, but I don't know, it's literally just the fact there's definitely like paragraph stopping points, but I would find it very, very hard to stop, because I feel like if there's a chapter, it is a stopping point for me. I can stop, I can put it down, I can come back to it. Whereas if it doesn't have chapters and just like cut off paragraphs, I don't know. I'll have to give it a go. In a darkened room, the boy sits waiting for the story to begin. His companion is a young man cloaked in shadow, his voice low and soft. Only the pure white of his collar is visible in the gloom. The story of this man's life is about to be told. The story of a vampire facing the dark stretch of eternity, cursed with an exquisite craving for human blood. Definitely a spooky read. I was supposed to read this last year, like I said, but I'm determined to read it this year. This one I'm so excited for. I got this for Christmas, and I read its predecessor, and it was actually number 1 on my top 10. And words can't express how excited I am for this book. Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. I absolutely adored Legends and Lattes. I could not put it down. I was obsessed, and I really hope this one's just as good. And the fact it's hardback as well, and it has the artwork on the inside. Look at that. It's just, I love it so much. So this is still following on from Viv, but it says set 20 years before the events of Legends and Lattes. So I'm super excited to read this. If it is just as good as Legends and Lattes, I will pick up every single book that Travis Baldree puts out, and I really hope this isn't the last one. So this one, I also read its predecessor and absolutely adored it. It was on my top 10 list as well, and it is Upon a Frosted Star by Emma Kuznia. Now, I adored Midnight in Everwood. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I'm determined to get Midnight in Everwood in hardback so it can go on the shelf with this. So Midnight in Everwood was a Nutcracker retelling, and this is a Swan Lake retelling, and just look at that cover. It is absolutely gorgeous. So it says on the back, the parties always started the same way, when the nights deepened, swallowing daylight by the hour. When winter whispered its frozen song across the land, when the promise of snow could be tasted in the air, the parties were a thing of legend and sometimes an obsession. So we will have to see how this is. I mean, even the cover makes me want to read it, so hopefully I'll get around to it soon. But this does give me winter vibes, just like Midnight in Everwood did. Again, another one that I have read the predecessors to. So this is the 3rd book in a trilogy, and I cannot wait to read it. I still have the stories from the first 2 jammed in my brain because they were so good, and it is Vengeance of the Pirate Queen by Trisha Levenseller. I absolutely loved the first 2 books, so Daughter of the Pirate King and Daughter of the Siren Queen, but I can't get them in hardback unless I want to buy them off eBay for like £100 because they were part of the fair. It was some kind of crate, like book crate. But you can only get hardbacks in like a special edition. But one of my brother-in-laws got me this for Christmas, and I'm super grateful. Joe, if you're watching this, thank you. But oh my gosh, I'm so excited to read this. I actually cannot wait. You can't be afraid of the dark when you know the monster lurking in the shadows. That's all it says on the back. So this looks like it is from another point of view. This looks like it's from Serinda's point of view, and Alossa is more of a side character, and that's going to be quite interesting because Alossa has been the main character and the protagonist of the other 2 books. So I'm excited to see how this is, and I don't know whether to make it one of the first books I read, if I'm honest. This book I also got for Christmas from one of my friends, and it is quite a short book, and it is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. Now, I had no idea that Neil Gaiman wrote Coraline. I've always wanted to read the Graveyard Book but never got around to it, so I might add that to my TBR. I've never watched the movie all the way through because I'm not going to lie, I found it very, very freaky. So it did kind of put me off, but usually the books are better than the movies. So if I enjoy the book that much, then I might give the movie another try. But I just love the artwork. Again, very similar to the Graveyard Book, and it's just so, so cool. And there are illustrations in this as well, which I think is really, really nice. But some of these illustrations are quite scary. But I mean, just look at that art style. It's so cute. I absolutely love it. I'm just super, super excited to kind of delve back into my childhood and read short little books like this. Now, this next book isn't normally one I would go for, but my mum-in-law bought this for me for Christmas. And it is a Phil Rickman book, and it is called The Wine of Angels. Now, this is quite a chunky book, so it might take me a while to finish it, but I will give this one a go. And it's very hefty, it's very bulky, but again, I'll give it a go. So it says, the new vicar had never wanted a picture postcard parish, but appearances deceive. Ledwardine has a hidden history of abuse and murder, and Merrily Watkins might do well to heed the anonymous message that speaks of the devil's minister and adds, let him lie, be warned. This is a novel that introduces Merrily Watkins before the ongoing contemporary exorcism series begins with Midwinter of the Spirit. So this is a crime book, so we'll see if I like it, and I might see if I can find some more of Phil Rickman's work if I do like this one. Now, this one came with Coraline. My friend bought me 2 books, and she knows me too well. She knows that I am into cozy reads and autumnal aesthetic, and I saw this book and my heart just warmed up instantly, and it is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore, and there is the cinnamon bun something book as well. I cannot remember what it is called for the life of me, but it just looks so cute. I mean, just look at that art where there's a little cat in front of the book, in front of the cafe, and it just gives me such autumnal vibes. And I don't know whether to read this now or wait until the autumn. When Jeannie's aunt gifts her the beloved Pumpkin Spice Cafe in the small town of Dream Harbour, Jeannie jumps at the chance for a fresh start away from a very dull desk job. Logan is a local farmer who avoids Dream Harbour's gossip at all costs, but Jeannie's arrival disrupts Logan's routine, and he wants nothing to do with the irritatingly upbeat new girl, except that he finds himself inexplicably drawn to her. Will Jeannie's happy-go-lucky attitude win over the grumpy but gorgeous Logan, or has this city girl found the one person in town who won't fall for her charm or her pumpkin spice lattes? How cute! I'm not usually into romances, but just with this cover alone, I'm willing to give it a go. We're on to the second pile. So some of these are actually books that my mum has given me, so I'm willing to give them a try. They're not normally what I would read, so that is making me want to read them even more, because I want to explore and open up my horizons when it comes to reading this year. And one of the books she's given me is Tender is the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Now, my mum has told me that this is even better than The Great Gatsby, so we'll have to see, because I studied part of The Great Gatsby in college and really enjoyed it, so hopefully I like some more of this. Set on the French Riviera in the 1920s, Tender is the Night charts the captivating lives of American Dick Diver and his wife Nicole. The pair are the epitome of chic, living in a glamorous lifestyle and entertaining friends at their villa. Young film star Rosemary Hoyt arrives in France and becomes entranced by the couple. It is not long before she is attracted to the enigmatic Dick, but he and his wife hold dark secrets, and as their marriage becomes more fractured, Fitzgerald laments the failure of idealism and the carefully constructed trappings of high society in the roaring 20s. That sounds quite juicy, so I'll have to see what this one is like. It does look very cool, and it will be kind of nice to get into like the older authors that aren't really explored much anymore, or are just explored in like college courses and everything like that. So I'm willing to give this a go. Next is another one that I read in college as well and did a lot of studying on, but never read it since because I found it quite depressing, if I'm honest. But I was a teenager back then and I am now nearly 30. I'm 27 in a few months. So I'm willing to read this again with fresh eyes, and I wanted this in hardback, but my mum gave it to me with this gorgeous artwork on and I couldn't say no. And it is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. And my middle name actually comes from Wuthering Heights. My mum was pregnant when she was reading this, and my middle name is Catherine, after Kathy. So it is quite cool looking at the book that inspired my mum naming me what I am. But I'm it's going to be very weird reading this from a grown-up point of view rather than a teenage point of view, but yeah, I'm quite excited to read this again. So this next book I've never even heard of. It's apparently been made into a film and I have never watched it. I've never even heard of it, but it is Brooklyn by Colm Toibin. I think that's how you say it. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but it looks like quite a short book, so I am willing to give it a try. And it looks like it's set in Ireland, and the main character, Ellis, emigrates to New York and she leaves her family behind, and it looks like the plot kind of just develops from there. But it does look quite interesting, so I'm willing to give it a try. Now this book I am quite excited to read again. This is another book that I read the whole thing in college and I absolutely loved it, and I wanted to buy this again, and then my mum brought down a load of books with her and this was in the pile, and I'm super excited to have it back, and I will be keeping this now. And it is Perfume by Patrick Suskind. This is a very dark book. It's very, very dark. But basically what I did in college was, when we were reading Wuthering Heights, we had to pick another book and write an essay of how they were similar. And I picked Perfume. It's basically about a man who decides to kill young ladies based off of their smell. He's tried to find the perfect scent and he murders people in order to do so. And it is a very dark book. It's a very, very dark book, but it is quite short. It's not very long, so I am quite excited to read this again and kind of relive those memories in college. But it's just, I mean, the artwork is stunning for one, and again, just bringing back those memories of being in college and reading it. It's going to be quite a nostalgic book for me, I think. So these next two I'm going to talk about together. There is a third book in this series that may be on my TBR depending on if I like these or not. But this one is Wolf Hall, and then the second one is Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel. I'm not sure if these are fiction or non-fiction. So I think these are fiction books based off of Thomas Cromwell in the times of Henry VIII. So I don't know about these types of historical fiction, and plus this is a thick book. They are both very thick books, and there is a third one called The Mirror and the Light, which again, if I like these then I'll read it, but if I don't like them then I might not bother, because if a book is this big it's going to have to be very interesting and pique my interest and keep me interested throughout the whole thing. So we'll have to see how we get on with these ones. We're on the last pile. Now these next two books are classics, and Tom got me both of these for Christmas, and Just the covers are absolutely stunning, but the first one, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I have never read Frankenstein and I am just super excited. I really want to get back into reading more of the classics as well, and just this cover, it's just so beautiful. It feels nice in the hands. It's just, oh, I love it so much, and I do want to read this around spooky season, so we'll see if I can hold off for that long, but we'll have to see how well I do with my reading. But I can't wait to read this. And the next classic, this one is even more stunning than Frankenstein, Dracula by Bram Stoker. Now, in my previous videos I have talked about Dracul by Dacre Stoker and J.D. Barker, which is apparently the prequel and what inspired the events of Dracula. And just look at this cover. It is, oh, I'm so excited to read it. I'm even honoured that Tom got me this, and I have this on my bookshelf, but it's just, oh, I've only just noticed the inside has bats in. Oh my god, what an absolutely stunning book. And it's hefty. This is a hefty book, but I am willing to read it because I've wanted to read this for so long, and I have it in my hands. And again, I might see if I can hold off until spooky season, but I don't know if I'll be able to. So this next one is a group of stories, and my sister-in-law, Tom's sister, bought me this for Christmas, and it is the complete fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm. And I've never actually read a single Brothers Grimm fairy tale. I know it's ridiculous, but I'm so excited. This even has illustrations in. Like, look at these. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to read this. But the fact that it's a group of fairy tales and they're all separated, I can like separate these out. So while I'm reading one book and I need a bit of a break, I can pick up this and read one fairy tale from it. And it's just, I'm so grateful to Helen for getting me this. And the cover is absolutely stunning as well. I mean, it's very different from what I'd expected from the Brothers Grimm, because when I think of the Brothers Grimm, I think of dark and spooky and yucky, and then I see this cover and it's just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm very happy that I have this on my shelf. We've only got a few left. So next is actually a series of books, and I have seen quite a few videos on these, and it is the Serpent and Dove series by Shelby Mahurin. I think that's right. But look at these covers. It's just, I hate it when covers are this gorgeous and I have to wait to read them. But in this series are Serpent and Dove, Blood and Honey, and Gods and Monsters. And I just love how all of the covers just flow together. It's all the same but different colour schemes, and I just love it so much. So the blurb on Serpent and Dove, or the synopsis: bound as one to love, honour or burn, a witch and a witch hunter thrust into holy matrimony. There was only one way such a story could end: a stake and a match. That's so, oh my god, suspense much. And then, I'm not going to read the synopsis of these two because they do tie into the other book, I think. So I'm going to keep that to myself and put them back in the box. But I am very excited to read those. This is the first series that I've picked up, and one of my goals for 2024 is to read more book series. And the last two books, which I have down here, are part of a series which I am so excited. Like, I've never been more excited to read some books. They've been sat on my shelves. I can't wait to read these. I'm just, words cannot describe how excited I am to read these last two books. And the third one is coming out in August, and I really hope that they're just as beautiful. Belladonna and Foxglove by Adeline Grace. Just look at them! They are so beautiful. And the only thing that annoys me is that I can't get Belladonna in hardback unless I want to pay ridiculous money, because they are, again, like book crate exclusives or signed hardbacks, and I'm not paying over £100 for one book. But it's just, I've never been more excited to read these books, and I'm going to try and save them for as long as I possibly can, because I want to savour these books when I read them. And Wisteria, the third book, comes out in August, and I am so excited, and hopefully I've read both of these by this point. So let me read the synopsis of Belladonna if you have not read it already. Your name is no cursed little bird, I just like the taste of it. Orphaned as a child, Signa Farrow has been raised by a string of guardians, each more interested in her wealth than her well-being, and each has met an untimely end. Her only remaining relatives are the elusive Hawthorns, an eccentric family living at Thorn Grove, an estate both glittering and gloomy. When a restless spirit appears claiming she was poisoned, Signa realises the Hawthorns could be in grave danger and enlists the help of a surely stable boy to hunt down the killer. But Signa's best chance of uncovering the murderer is an alliance with Death himself. And as the mystery unfurls, Signa realises their growing connection may be more irresistible than she dared imagine. Woo! I am so excited. And then on the back of Foxglove, it just says, "What's wrong, love? Afraid I'll ruin you." And this, I remember seeing this in Waterstones and thinking, oh my god, that book is absolutely stunning. And then I realised that it was a sequel, and I saw this one and I was like, oh my god, I need them both. And I am resisting so hard not to read them right now, but I will just have to be patient. So that is all the books on my physical TBR. There are, if we were going to go through my actual TBR of books that I haven't even got yet, we would be here for literal hours, and we're already at nearly an hour just from my physical TBR. I think there's only like a couple of honourable mentions which I want to talk about, and that is Sunbringer, which is the sequel to Godkiller by Hannah Kaner. That will definitely be on my physical TBR at some point. That comes out in like 2 weeks. I think it comes out on the 15th of February, and today is the last day of January, so I'm excited for that. And mainly on my TBR is book series, but it's just ridiculous. I have a list, at least it just is filled. It's filled up my phone notes of just all these series I want to read. And ACOTAR is on that list, but I want to get through all of these books first before I really focus on a series like that, because I know it would take up a lot of my time and I would want to be fully invested and read the books one after the other rather than read other books in between. And Crescent City is definitely on that as well. I know the third book has just come out and people are very, very excited about it, and the covers, the hardcover edition covers, are absolutely gorgeous, so I will definitely be getting those at some point. I'm just debating whether to start ACOTAR first or Crescent City first. So if you have a recommendation of which one to read first, then please leave it in the comments. And also let me know which books are in your TBR and you are most excited about. Mine, as I said, are definitely Belladonna and Foxglove, and probably also the Serpent and Dove series as well. Those are probably the ones that I'm most excited about to read. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video and sticking around. If you have stuck around this long, thank you so much. Please leave, what emoji which one should we do? Leave the books emoji in the comments. And yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Keep on reading, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!